So yesterday we talked about coordinate grids. Today we're going to talk about coordinate graphs. Okay, so we're going to talk about using coordinate points to create a graph. So coordinate graphs. And this is 5G1. You can go ahead and add that to your table of contents in your notebook. And if you remember correctly from yesterday, I told you when you graph coordinate points, your x and your y coordinate, going over for your x, up for your y, and making a dot on your graph, you have to graph them in order. So the first sheet we're going to look at is this one right here, coordinate graphs. And it says connect these points in order on the coordinate grid below. And it tells in order so that we can correctly identify what it is it wants us to identify. So, notice it has the letter A right here. That means we're going to call this point when we go X over to and Y up to and make a point. We're going to connect those two and call it point A. Okay, so I'm going to look at my coordinate grid. I'm going to go over to and up to, make a point right here, and I'm just going to put a little A right here because that is point A. Okay. Remember, how did I know to go over to and up to? Because my point was 2, 2. First one stands for my x, the second one stands for my y. I'm going to mark that out. Now the next one says 2, 4. So I'm going to go over 2. I'm going to go up to the 4 right here. I'm still over 2, and then I went up 4, and I'm going to make a point. And I'm going to call this point B. And I'm going to connect the two. Why am I going to connect the two? Because I'm going in order. I don't want to just make all my points and then connect them, because it's not going to come up with this. It might not come up with the same shape that it wants me to create. All right. Point C says 2, 6. So this is my x coordinate. This is my y coordinate. I'm going to go over 2, up 6. So on my graph, I'm going to go over 2, all the way up to 6. Make a point. Call that C, and connect my line from B to C, because that was my next point that I made. I'm going to cross that out. My next point is D. I'm going to go over 4 and up 5. 4 is my x coordinate, 5 is my y coordinate. So I'm going to go over to 4, and then I'm going to go up to 5, right here. So I went over 4, up 5, and I'm going to make a point. And that's D. Now I'm going to connect C to D because that's in order. Okay. Then E says go over 6, up 6. So I'm going to go over 6, up 6, which is right here. And that's point E. And I'm going to connect this point to this point because that's in order. Now F says over 6, up 4. I'm going to go over to 6, and I'm going to go up to 4. I'm going to make a point, call that F. I'm going to connect it, E to F. Okay? And then my last point is G, and it says 6, 2. So I'm going to go over 6, up 2, and that's point G. So I'm going to connect it. Okay? When I connect it, it says, what letter is formed on the grid? Well, I see that the letter M is created on this grid. Now notice, if I just plotted all my points, I could have easily, and I don't want you to draw this on your notes, but I could have easily gone and made this, started here, connected all of these, gone here, and then connected here and gone up, and it would have made a W. But since I connected the points in order, it made an M. Okay? So instead of making the W, it made an M, which is the correct letter I was supposed to make. All right? Now, the next thing we're going to look at is this describe the graph page. Okay? We're going to look at what this is actually talking about. they had to generate 12 random numbers between 0 and 10 and record them in the order that they appear. So they thought of 12 random numbers and wrote them all out here. So they made coordinate points. They made 7, 8, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 6, 0, 3, and 6, 7. They just randomly thought of 12 numbers and filled in the blanks with all 12 numbers. And it made coordinate points. So 7, they went over 7 on their graph. And notice this is 6, 8, so I have to go between 6 and 8 to get to 7. Went over 7 and up 8 and made a point. Okay? They went over 2 and up 4, and they made a point. And after they made all their points, they connected the line segments from left to right. Now, the reason we didn't connect these in order is because we randomly said these numbers. Okay? So they connected all the points from left to right. When they did that, they had to figure out what could this actually represent. What could this graph represent? What could my bottom set of numbers and my side set of numbers represent? And they titled it My Dog Ruff. And so they called the graph My Dog Ruff. And it talks about the dog's weight over time. So they made the bottom numbers represent his age. 0 through 10 represented his age in years, I believe. And the side numbers represented how much he weighed over time. And this kind of would make sense. As a puppy, when he was just a little young puppy, when he's 0 years old, he only weighs a small amount. Once he turns 2, he gains a little bit of weight. At 4, he gains a lot of weight and increases. Maybe he gets a little sick or something over here at 6 or 7, and he decreases a little bit. And then he increases and then decreases again finally. So it makes sense for this graph to be about a dog's weight because of the way the points were plotted. Okay, the points across showed age, and then over the time of his age, we saw what his weight did. That's kind of what that's what they named this graph. Okay, what I'm going to do with you is actually create a graph on this page right here where it says describe the graph, and we're going to create some random numbers here. Okay. Actually, we're not going to do this one. I'm sorry, guys. I got that one incorrect. We're going to do this one right here, okay, where it gives you the numbers. Okay, it says plot the ordered pairs listed below and then connect them in a straight line. Use the space beside the graph to create a scenario or a situation that would match the line created on the graph. Be sure to label the graph and each axis to match your scenario. Now, this is called we talked about this yesterday, but this is called my y-axis. And I have to actually give it a title once I get my numbers plotted. And this is called my x-axis, okay? Because this is where my x coordinates are. This is where my y coordinates are, okay? So I'm going to plot these points, okay? I see that my highest number that I have to plot is 21. So I need to figure out what I want to count by on either side. That's my highest y coordinate. And my highest x coordinate is actually, looks like 7. So I'm going to start counting here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, I guess let's go back. 0, and let's do this 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, guys. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 if we have to. Notice that I'm putting my numbers right up under my lines because I need a line to go by. I don't need this open space. I don't put my numbers in the open space. I put them directly below the little lines on my graph. That's very important so I know where to plot them. Okay, over here on the side, I have to go as high as 21. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spaces. So that means I could probably count by 2s over here on this side and be okay. So I'm going to count, and I'm going to say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Now, why did I count by 2s? Because I needed to get as high as 21 for my y coordinate. Okay? So my first point that I need to plot is 1, 9. Over 1, up 9. So It's going to be right between the 8 and the 10. Okay, my next point I need to plot is 2, 11. Over 2, up 11. So right between 10 and 12. And then I need to connect those two. My next point is 3, 13. Over 3, up 13. So I'm going to go right between 12 and 14. Next point is 4, 15. So I'm going to go over 4, up between 14 and 16. And then I'm going to go over 5, up 17, between 16 and 18. Then over 6, up 19, go between 18 and 20. Then over 7, up 21. So I'm going to go between 20 and 22. Now that created a straight line. So I need to think of what could I name this in order to really get an idea of what this means. Kind of, if every time I'm increasing over here, it looks like I'm increasing over here. Every time my x coordinate goes up, my y coordinate goes up. That matches with it. Okay, so I need to figure out a scenario that I could give to match this graph. Okay, so what I might do for this particular ride, for this particular graph, is I might look at labeling my x-axis with, maybe I label this as years in school. And I label, so that's what these numbers represent, years in school. And then I could label my y-axis with special or amount of special awards. So I'm looking at over my years in school, how many special awards I've received. So it looks like during my first year in school, I received 9 special awards. Okay. By the time I got to my second year in school, I received 11 special awards, okay? By the time I got to my third year in school, I had received 13 special awards, okay? I would like for you to describe in words what we just created here. If these are your years in school, and this is how many special awards you got over time, I want you to describe those numbers and those coordinate pairs in words right here, okay? My silly saying for today is, I will, let's see, I gotta think of something. I always do this. I pause when I come to the silly saying. I will give 5 tickets to anybody that can tell me my birthday. And I'm not going to tell you when my birthday is. But if you remember when my birthday is, or you're able to figure it out, you can have 5 tickets tomorrow.